The Corpus, a heartless, greedy merchant cult, driven only by profits to enrich themselves and drive up their army. The Corpus, as defined by DE, is a conglomeration of plutocratic commercial and industrial interests unified by a single trade language and a common goal: the pursuit of financial profit. A greedy, techie cult driven by the pursuit of financial profit. This is how you know the Corpus as of now. But were they always like this? Are they changing to become a new Corpus with morals? As we saw in the Jade Shadows quest, were they always moral? And of course, how did the Corpus come to be? These are the questions that will be answered as we take a deep dive into the story and lore of the Corpus. Now, before we talk more about the present day Corpus, we have to talk about and understand their history and lore. The Corpus was founded by none other than Parvos Grandin himself. He was a son of a humble family of farmers who lived during the Orcan era, which is ironic since Parvos isn't really that humble. As he got older, he was enraged with the difference and disparity between his masters and the ones who worked under them, believing that anyone, no matter their social status, had the right to pursue wealth and profit. He believed this so much that he started to follow this, the fact that anybody could do anything, no matter their social status. So he started to follow desires, with this desire being the pursuit of wealth. Now, how did he pursue wealth? Well, he was a farmer and could not get wealthy by doing it the right way or moral way. So he had to steal from the Orcan. Well, he chose to steal from the Orcan. But this is how he started to get wealthy. He also obtained a financial loan. For what? I don't know. Did he pay this back? Probably not. But he then loaned parts of his newfound wealth or new stolen wealth to others. So he's kind of a good guy at this time. With each new investment and associate he gained, he was able to spread his philosophy. This philosophy being about the evils of contentment and idleness, as well as giving them the gift of desire. Here you can ask, is he biting off more than he can chew? Trying to sell his philosophy he made up, as well as convincing others that he is giving them the gift of desire. This spread even more as the people who he taught would go on to spread this and teach others by loaning some of their wealth to others, gaining new followers with each transaction, essentially making this a period loan sharking scheme. To understand this fully, a loan shark is a money lender who charges extremely high rates of interest, typically under illegal conditions. So is what he's doing illegal? Who knows? This is Warframe. Not to sum it up, he gathered more followers by giving them money. With Parvos convincing everyone, including his fellow farmers, to follow his new doctrine, he was able to create and build a new city, the city of Corposium. There isn't anything crazy about the city. The only thing to mention is that it's the capital city of the Corpus. With Parvos and his teachings becoming more and more popular, along with his wealth, others really wanted to join in. Every man in Corpus would try to apply his teachings and desires to attempt to make his own wealth. So you can easily think about the guys on TikTok trying to promote being an alpha or a sigma, just to really take money from guys who want to be better at life. Parvos then became the leader of the Corpus Board of Directors of, at the time, the newly founded Corpus. If you didn't realize already, this is all happening during the Orcan era. So obviously the kings of this era, the Orcan, knew about the Corpus and they accepted them, at first. We actually knew about this a while ago, as Ballas talks about the Corpus in the Vauban Prime trailer.
Lust was my sin. But greed is the blight that weakens our steel. These industrialists have gorged on the harvest of our long war. Their mine drones, their mechanizations, toil in foundries remote. For what purpose? We must set watch upon them, baiting our snares with the worms of profit. Those kneeling at the altar of commerce will be returned to the void.
During the Old War, the Orcan even gave Parvos a Warframe bodyguard as a part of some deal. This Warframe bodyguard was Protea. This is seen as you complete the quest, the Deadlock Protocol, where you first see Parvos. Now I mentioned that this is from some deal, without specifying what that deal is. That's because we don't know what that deal was. We just know that he got Protea as a bodyguard. We don't know what the Orcan got in return. So all we can do is just think and conspire about what happened. Did he give the Orcan some technology? Was there something the Corpus had on the Orcan, like blackmail? How did the Corpus survive the war, but not the Orcan? Could that have something to do with this deal? We don't know. Later, the Orcan became distrustful of the Corpus. Not surprising since they started by taking parts from the Orcan. With this, Parvos wasn't rebellious. Instead, he encouraged it and wanted them to send Warframes to a laboratory.
Think like this. Let them come.
This laboratory was filled with Archimedeans that were developing Spectre technology. Now of course this lab was rigged with an 80 megatherm warhead. Now once that assault team showed up, Parvos then activated the bomb and destroyed the lab and the Orokin assault team. As you can imagine, this did not make the Orokin like the Corpus. This was the start of a conflict between the Orokin and the Corpus. Now why did Parvos do this? Why did he start this conflict? We don't know, apparently. The Corpus was then condemned by the Orokin as a merchant cult, which is how we know of the Corpus now. Although the Orokin sounds dangerous, well, they sounded dangerous back then, since they were powerful ones, they were not the biggest threat towards Parvos. The biggest threat to Parvos came from the board. The board had a bunch of people on it like Parvos that were jealous of him. This jealousy of Parvos made a board member betray Parvos, although it could have been because of the conflict he started. This member sent assassins to sabotage Parvos' transport void drive. This caused everyone to believe he was gone for good. But as one who completed the Warframe story, we know he came back. And he came back with some vengeance. How are the Corpus today? After the fall of the Orokin Empire, the Corpus tried to take over what was left behind in the Origin system. Their upper echelons, which are just like bosses like Parvos, claim to have Orokin blood. They claimed this so they could fool others into believing that they were powerful or more important than them. The Corpus, as everyone knows, as soon as you have about 2 hours in the game, has frequent conflicts with the Grineer. And if you're interested on the history of the Grineer, go check out my video I did on the Grineer called The Grineer and How They Came to Be. Now, the Corpus may seem very organized with how their ships look and how they operate. However, this is not the case. The board is constantly having infights and discord between them. This is really just members trying to one-up each other. Jealousy seems to never go away with them. The Tenno is forced to take a side of a member in order not to let another one obtain too much power. Very similar to our politics. The Corpus became very different than what Parvos had imagined. As I talked about earlier, Parvos believed that everyone should work together. Everyone should have desire. There shouldn't be a person with more power than the other. However, this is completely different than what the Corpus is now. Now, the Corpus bosses rely on the labor of others, which is making the bosses lazy, becoming self-indulgent, prioritizing profit over the fulfillment of desire like Parvos had envisioned. And to focus on what really makes the Corpus, the enemy people think of when you say Corpus, the crewmen. The crewmen, who are really the face of the Corpus, are all brainwashed since birth in order to worship profit and money, and Parvos as a mythical figure, so maybe he does like part of it. Any individuality or personality that they once had is now erased by their helmets. These helmets turn their voices into a robotic sound, making them barely distinguishable from their peers. We'll talk about the helmets a bit later on in this video when I discuss their language. Now, their army and tactics in battle. Surprisingly or not, if you really pay attention to how they fight you, they are similar to the Grineer in terms of their tactics. The Corpus uses many of the same attrition and ambush tactics as the Grineer, even though they are more technologically advanced than them. However, the Corpus have some techie tricks up their sleeves, as they have more security proxies. These security proxies basically being non-crewmen, such as MOAs, Ospreys, and their advanced security systems like their traps and sensors. Now, how are the Corpus so advanced? Well, they are smarter than the Grineer, obviously. Where in my last video, I talked about how the Grineer salvaged Orokin parts. The Corpus actually integrated and stole Orokin parts and technology. I talked about how Parvos stole Orokin items. Well, this didn't really stop. Once the Orokin Empire ended, they started to integrate lost Orokin technology, and they had a better understanding of this technology. At least those who were among the Orokin when it was in its prime during the war. The Corpus have not only experimented on Orokin technology, but they have also experimented on Warframe technology, which you could also claim is Orokin, as it was from and made by the Orokin. I haven't done my research on the Tenno and Warframes yet. The video isn't made or being made yet, so I'm not 100% up to date on my Tenno and Warframe lore. Anywho, back to the Corpus. We know they have this Warframe technology, as we are introduced to an enemy that is apparently made from the defeated Warframes, Zanuka. These pieces of technology from the organ and frames allows the Corpus to create highly dangerous robotic creatures, and it doesn't stop with just this technology. Of course, Corpus, or really Alad V, got his hands on some of the sentient technology, and if you don't know, a big enemy to the Orokin were sentients. Although they were created by the Orokin, they did turn on them. That I do know. Now again, I haven't done a video on the really cool lore yet, so I'm not 100% on the type of stuff, but I am pretty sure about that. Now anywho, boss guy Alad V and other Corpus get a hold of sentient technology. You can see sentient technology in Orb Valis, with the Prophet Taker Orb recreating the adaptation to damage that sentients are known for. Also, Jupiter is filled with this technology, which is why I keep saying Alad V. This guy infused Tau tech into his crewmen and other proxies to create amalgams, or amalgamations. And if you didn't know, or didn't complete the sacrifice quest, great quest by the way, Tau is the status effect sentients dish out. This is also what the new Caliban dishes out to enemies. Corpus weapons and their tech associated with their weapons. The Corpus is the most prolific makers of weapons in Warframe. They sell an enormous amount of weaponry and munitions due to their advanced technology, combined with economy and market variety. They even sell some to the Grineer. The Grineer mass produce their weapons, even for themselves. They don't really care about quality all that much, while the Corpus do. at least for themselves. Their weapons range from simple stun rods and basic energy assault rifles, to self-defense weapons based on ancient designs, and powerful energy sniper rifles, and energy machine guns. They also design many exotic weapons for a niche market or role, such weapons being miniature swarm missile launchers, chaining arc weapons, shattering crystal shotguns, freezing beam guns, bows with implosive arrows, wrist-mounted sidearms, and a portable laser cannon. As I said earlier about their weapons and technology, the ones they export have lower quality than the ones they make for themselves, which makes sense. Why give your enemy great weapons, just give them good or decent ones. So the weapons they export are low in quality, so they're both cheap and accessible. Their weapons tend to be compact in appearance with a geometric block-like shape, with right angles, small components, and a general disregard for the operator's ergonomics. So these weapons aren't built around who holds them. It's meant to operate reliably instead of comfortably. As with the Grineer, the Corpus weapons are meant for their enemy, in this case, their main enemy being the Grineer. So it's meant for highly armored enemies, which is why their weapons are mostly equipped to deal puncture damage. Their R&D teams on Jupiter, under Alad V, have created weapons amalgamated with Tau tech, such as a high-capacity bimodal sniper and a homing ricochet sidearm. There's another weapon that actually connects to the old research of Parvos, this being Spectre Particle. At the time of Parvos, this was just a theory. However, you know this technology and you know the weapon that has it. Likely all of you have it. If you played the quest Deadlock Protocol, then you have the Zorus, a glaive capable of being charged with Spectre particles. The Corpus language, which isn't all that complicated or weird. Their language uses a set of Roman number-like alphabets and grammar, which is actually largely similar to the conventional English. This is of course only spoken by those who can, well, speak. These being crewmen or those with faces similar to the crewmen. As a whole, they mainly speak normal English. However, their helmets contain built-in vocal modulators. This can cause their voice and the words they are saying to come out garbled and messed up. Their helmets are for protection and to keep their identity hidden, but it's not really good for talking. It's also really not good with protection either, at least not towards frames. Now, the divisions of the Corpus. Before I name them and tell you what they specialize in and where they are, we have to understand one thing. That is that some units can behave very differently despite having the same classification, meaning a nullifier in two separate units can act differently. To start off with the divisions, we have the basic. Literally, this is called the basic division, and they are the standard Corpus division, mainly found in Corpus outposts. Juno, this is the crew of Corpus ships. They possess several new versions of MOA proxies. Terra, these are Corpus employed by Nef'Anyo, located on Orb Vallis Venus. They have special cold weather equipment and gear to adapt to the cold weather there. Phapos, these are Alad V's crewmen. They are seen in any Corpus gas city on Jupiter. Some units are equipped with jetpacks for the big open spaces on Jupiter. Taro, Axio, Vorak, Orm, these guys are located in railjack regions of Venus, Neptune, Vale, and Pluto Proximas. Orax, an elite subdivision of the Corpus Space Division, they're geared towards being more on the offense and fighting side of things, as opposed to the defensive side of things. They are sent to protect other Corpus troops and assets in the Corpus Proximas. The Corpus Guilds. You may not know what these are, so to quickly describe them, Corpus Guilds are companies and corporations ran by several Corpus merchants and the Corpus Board of Directors. These guilds are never referenced in dialogue, but each symbol can be spotted in many locations of Corpus tile sets. Here are some of the guilds. A few should look and sound familiar. Luxor Nanocomposites Foundry Forge. This is the most common one. Luxor is a prime manufacturer of Corpus weaponry, equipment, and construction materials. B-Cloud Hivemine. B-Cloud is the company responsible for the development of software and hardware of the Corpus security systems. And now hopefully I say this one right. Shiltot Hivemine Manufacturing. Shiltot is a miner producer of vault-like doors present in Corpus Outposts and Corpus Ice Planet tile sets. Fortunate Dawn Security Systems. Fortunate Dawn is responsible for the development of software and hardware of Corpus security systems. So it seems like two companies here are responsible for the security systems. Oaklu Technical Inc. This is a database management company that analyzes and catalogs information used in Corpus systems. Anyo Corp, this one is obviously familiar sounding. This is owned by Nef'Anyo and represents all of his scientific developments and Onis. Lastly, another familiar one, Index Brokers. This is obviously the Index, but you also know them and have played the Index from an early quest. The brokers are members of Anyo Corp that are employed in the Index, which is a gambling activity organized by Nef'Anyo to face off against any rival investor for the sake of their own lives. Now finally, the enemies in the Corpus. Now I'm not going to state what each does, this would make this video way too long. Instead, I'm going to list each one and have a picture associated with them. You likely know most of them anyway and what they do. So without further ado, the basic unit crewmen, consisting of crewmen, Detron crewmen, sniper crewmen, elite crewmen, tech, prod crewmen, machinist, nullifier crewmen, Terra Maker, Terra Overtaker, and Terra Plasmor crewmen. These next two are considered Comba, and these enemies are the Comba and Scrambus. The next group is called Rangers, which consists of Terra Trencher, Terra Provisor, Vapos Detron Ranger, Vapos Elite Ranger, Vapos Nullifier Ranger, Vapos Sniper Ranger, and Vapos Tech Ranger. Next are Walkers. These are the two-legged robots, which includes Moa, Minima Moa, Shockwave Moa, Railgun Moa, Fusion Moa, Anti-Test, Junadera, Junadisk, Junageminix, and Junoglaxian Moa. All of these were Moas. These next four are the strong, annoying ones, and these four being Isolator Bursa, Drover Bursa, Denial Bursa, and Terra Embatter Moa. Next is Ospreys. These are the flying drones you see everywhere, which consists of Leech Osprey, Mine Osprey, Oxium Osprey, Shield Osprey, Sapping Osprey, Remic Osprey, and Juno Jactus Osprey. These next few are attack drones, these being Attack Drone, Scavenger Drone, and Terra Attack Drone. This next group is one we talked about before, which are amalgams. These amalgams consist of Amalgam Alchemist, Heket, Kukumats, Machinist, Moa, Osprey, and Satyr Amalgam. I am not sure if I got any of those right, but I did try my best. Next are Rachnoids. These are located only in Orvalis. The Rachnoids are Coolant Rachnoid, Kayet, Might, and Cytoid. Of course, those are also all Rachnoids. This next group is the Index group, only found in the Index, but of course these enemies may seem similar to others. In case this wasn't obvious, a lot of them are similar across different units. The Index enemies consisting of 4 groups, with these groups being Trading Group, Reclamation Unit, Claim Investigation, and Investor Relations. Each group consists of 4 enemies, as you saw in the video. Now, this guy, John Promman, he's apparently known to be similar to Clem, used as a meme within the Warframe community. I've never seen him, but he can be encountered in the Index. It's just very rare for you to see him. Then there are some random enemies like random engineers found in some ships, as well as enemies like the Errant Spectre, which is in the Granite Void that turns into particles once you kill them. There are Archwing Corpus, but we don't care. I don't mean to leave out a group and make anyone upset, but I don't think many people really care or pay attention to Archwing enemies. They really aren't in the lore much either. And now the bosses, the ones everybody cares about and is interested about. These bosses in the Corpus consist of Alid V, Ambulus, Exploiter Orb, Hyena Pack, Jackal, Lynx, Profit Taker Orb, Raptors, Razorback, the Sergeant, and Zanuka. Obviously these are all of the ones that you can kill. There are some bosses that you can't fight, which is Nef Anyo, Parvos, other members like that, which I'm sure will be introduced to more later on. Now the Corpus is a very interesting faction. This video will come out to be longer than the Grineer one, I believe. Corpus is much more complex and interesting. But if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you go and watch my video on the Grineer. Next will be some lore and history on the much more interesting parts of Warframe, like the Orican, Tenno, and all of that fun stuff. Let me know what you think about the Corpus. Are they a cool faction? Are they good? Are parts of them good, meaning some of the board members are actually good and decent? And I know that the friends to the Corpus and Tenno are not mentioned, such as Barrow and the Parent Sequence. Now again, go check out the Grineer video, as that video focuses on the lore and history of the Grineer. And with all that said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.